And my name is Carol Bowman Pope, and I'm an associate professor here. Do I need to stand with this microphone?
Oh, no. No, you're okay.
I'm okay?
Don't worry about that.
Okay, good. Because I don't like to stand behind there. I like to get out and talk to you guys. Okay? And let's make sure this thing is working so I can advance the slides. Ooh, it's working now. Okay. And I teach in the School of Business Administration. And, excuse me, when my hair is full in my mouth. Okay. That's great to catch on tape, right?
Yeah.
And I've taught global marketing many, many times, and I teach in the Master's of Business Administration program. I teach internal management, marketing, lots of different stuff, and I really love it. I love teaching it. And I know you would love coming here. So have you made your decisions to come here? No? Yes? Yes? Yes. So you're still on the margin. You're on. Good. Well, you'll love it here because class sizes are small, not quite this small, but they're small, and so you get personal attention. You get to know your faculty member one-on-one, and we give out our cell phones, our emails, and everything. So you would have a really great experience because you'll always be kind. You don't have to hide in the lecture hall. We don't like to really give lectures per se, like you might have seen, like at UWM, that kind of thing. They give lectures. So I like to have some material to look at and then just talk with you. And then we're going to do what's known best here at Alverno. We're going to work in teams, and we're going to actually apply some of this stuff and have fun. So that's my goal for today, is to talk to you a little bit about global marketing and then to go through some concepts that come from a book that's pretty recent in the literature. It's called The Culture Code, written by a French man called Clotaire Rapiel. And it addresses the different meanings that things have in different cultures. So I'm going to try to just get you to take a step outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're going to travel to South America today, okay? So that's what we're doing. And of course this thing won't function. Well, then I'll have to go ahead. It works, okay. Just so you get an idea, this PowerPoint, I don't need everyone to go over all the numbers and everything. I just want you to get a feel for the size of South America, okay? And it's way further east in the ocean, okay? And we're going to be talking about the countries today of Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. So the yellow, the pink, and the purple on there. And I've got their populations. This is from about a year or so ago. Brazil's now over 200 million in population. Do you know how many people live in the United States? About 300 million, okay? But Brazil, that country, is the size of the continental US, so the size of our 48 states. It's that big, and people don't realize that. So a lot of things going on there. And then I have their growth in their gross domestic product. Does anyone know what a gross domestic product is? Doesn't mean something's gross and disgusting. No, it means it's an economic term. So it's talking about how much did the country produce, and for their own consumption or for exporting. And so what's measured generally is the growth between one year and the next. So Brazil, this was back a year or so ago, a 7.8% growth. It slowed a little bit, but they're moving forward and developing a middle class in Brazil. Argentina has about 41 million people, so a lot smaller. And their growth was of 6.8%, so coming back. And then we're going to look at little tiny Paraguay, which is the right smack in the heart of South America, landlocked, one of two landlocked countries there. Population's about 6.5 million, and they had a huge growth rate last year, 14.5%. But they had 10% inflation, so it really was a 4.5% growth rate. But still, they're growing, unlike our economy here, where we've slowed down. Things are starting to slow down there. So I just wanted to make you familiar with that, and you have this in your handout, so you have some information on the population of all the countries in South America and their growth rates, okay? So first, we'll start our journey in Argentina. And I'd just like to put up some photos. Argentina, and especially Buenos Aires, where these photos come from. How many of you have seen the movie Evita? Don't cry for me, Argentina. I can't sing. Anyway, Madonna was in the movie, and Antonio Banderas. But she was the wife of, Evita Perón was the wife of Juan Perón, who was a very socialistic president in Argentina in the 1950s. And she really wanted to make an impact by giving things back to the people and helping the people, because there's a lot of poverty in Latin American countries to start with. She unfortunately died of cancer in the late 1950s, and so wasn't able to do it. But that obelisk, which looks similar, very similar, in fact, to our Washington Monument, which was kind of jostled around during that one earthquake, I think. Remember that? Little facts. They have one in the middle of Buenos Aires, and you see these people dancing. Does anyone know what dance that is? No, but close. The tango. The tango. And tango is called the dance of love. And in Buenos Aires is where it was developed. And there's many different styles of tango. And so it's kind of like, that's Argentina, a symbol of Argentina. And over here we have a government, a nice statue to somebody. And then what do we see in the lower right-hand corner of that picture? A tent, right. So you're thinking, why is there a tent in the middle of some beautiful public park? It's because they've had a lot of economic problems in Argentina. At the turn of the century, meaning this century, from 1990 to 9 to 2000, right around in the beginning of the 21st century, they went through 5 presidents in about 6 weeks, and they devalued their currency. And that's something that's an interesting point when you travel to other countries. They have different currency, okay? We have the US dollar, right? Argentina has the peso. And it used to be that the rate you would get was $1 to 1 peso. So it was very even. People could keep their money in either currency. Well, what happened then is the government decided to devalue the peso. Suddenly, for every dollar you gave them, you now got 3 pesos. It's a lot of pesos. But what did that mean to somebody who was holding an account and they wanted to convert it to dollars? They lost. They lost a third of their money, okay? So there was a lot of protests. They would only let people take so much money out of the ATMs every day. People couldn't hold dollars, bank accounts in dollars anymore. They only had to be in pesos. And they've had a lot of problems across time. So it impacts the cost of doing business there. So that's just a little bit about Buenos Aires. The culture, I'm sorry that this PowerPoint or this projector is up so high. The key to any of these countries in Latin America, when you're going to do business there, is that you want to develop a personal relationship with whomever you're working with down there. Why? Think about, how do we value time here in the United States? Time is, fill in the blank. What is time? Yeah, time is money, right? How fast can we get this done? How quickly can we get it from point A to point B? What's productivity? Fast, hurry up. It's a straight line. However, in Latin America, time is circular. And you've heard the term mañana, right? And there's some negative things that people here in the North America say about that, but really, mañana means that the time will come around again tomorrow, so we can do it tomorrow if we don't get to it today. And so it's more important in Latin America to make relationships with your family, friends, and then the business comes later. And why do you think that might be a good thing? Why could it be good to have a good, strong, solid personal relationship with your business partner?
If something goes down, you can easily come to a conclusion.
Right. Because then when things go south in business deals, like they always do, the friendship is there. And you always go back to that, and then you solve the problem. Right. That's very good. So that's why I say no encounter starts with a business discussion. You're going to talk about the country, talk about the family, maybe go out for dinner with them, whatever, and then finally you'll start the business discussion. Dress code, generally more formal than here. We're into all the business casual type stuff. Very formal there, because Buenos Aires is called the Paris of Latin America. And it very much looks like Paris, no Eiffel Tower. But it's still a beautiful city. And so courtesy, very important. You know how rude we are here, right? It's just nasty. Courtesy is really, really important when you're having any kind of a relationship there. And prior to the devaluation of the currency and the economic problems in the beginning of the century, Argentinian workers were the most highly paid in Latin America, and the average income was about $14,500, which is high, very high for educated workers. What's the average wage in the United States? Does anybody know? It's like 37,000, something like that, 35,000. Poverty level is much lower, but that's what you use that figure, and people buy with that kind of a figure in mind. But same in Japan, but in Latin countries, that 14,500 is huge, and that it isn't the case in the countryside portion, okay? Because 57.5% of the people do live below the poverty line. Let's move over now. We're going to fly up to Brazil, okay? And the key areas here that their economy is focused on is agriculture, commerce, and then tourism. And so here we have a picture of, in Rio de Janeiro, Christ the Redeemer, the statue of Christ. I don't know if any of you have seen, is it Fast and 5? It's the latest Fast and Furious movie. It's set in, yeah, whatever it's called, I just saw it. And it's set in Rio de Janeiro. And so you get to see a lot of the street scenes and a lot of the things that are popular there. And here we have the Carnival. And we all celebrate Mardi Gras or, New Orleans. Well, but the original is Carnival, and it's held in Rio de Janeiro. And they actually have what's called a Sambadrome. So it's a place where these samba schools come and compete against each other. They're given a theme for the year. They go out and raise the money for it. And they make the costumes or get them made for them, and they make floats. And they come through, and it's like our Super Bowl. It's a huge, huge facility. And they're judged on their dancing and their floats. And then the winning samba school gets to play at one of the local samba shows for the rest of the year because they were the winning team. So it's a real competition. It's really an ecotourism paradise. You see toucans flying around, not in the big cities, but in the countryside, parrots. And this is Iguazu Falls, which is one of the natural wonders of the world. It's 275 separate waterfalls. And it's a lot of fun. You can walk out over it, see the little bridge there. And of course, that wouldn't meet OSHA standards here in the States, so we probably never get to do something quite like that in the States. Right? So let's talk about their culture. And you'll see I have their flag in the upper left-hand corner, and I did the same with Argentina's flag in the other slide. And again, pace of negotiation is slower. However, Sao Paulo is one of the 3 largest cities in the world, with Mexico City and Tokyo. They're in that league, so they're huge. And if you're going to be doing a business presentation there, you need to be as ready as you would be if you were going to Chicago. So they're high-tech, business skills, very formal, the dress code again, but you want to get to know the people that you're going to be doing business with, because that's how it's done. Nature, natural products, very, very important. Soybeans they're like the largest exporter of soybeans in the world, Brazil. So that's huge. And they make ethanol down there. So now there's talks between President Obama and their new president. We have a woman, Dilma Rousseff. They're talking about lifting the embargoes or the trade problems so that they can export their ethanol to us here to try to help save the gasoline and oil prices. And it's got the 6th largest population in the world, and the average income, $10,515 a year. So it's less than Argentina. And what they're doing here is they're averaging. Because in the big cities, you're going to make the same money you would make here as a salary. But the workers in the countryside don't make much at all. And then Paraguay. Farming and agriculture are the key parts of the economy in Paraguay. So we see cattle raising, we see a gaucho on his horse and raising vegetables. The countryside in Paraguay is home to more than half of the population. And you will see in the countryside ox carts being pulled and driven by people. And that's their means of transportation. Going less and less ox carts, more and more motorcycles, but with the little things on the back that you can put stuff on. But this is the traditional way. So let's look at what does a Paraguayan woman do? A normal person, not someone who's in business, but just a woman trying to make it on her own in Paraguay. What does she do? She might sell fruits from a basket on top of her head in the city. She might make pottery by hand, sitting in front of, with clay that isn't on a mold or anything, just makes it by hand. Or she might make lace, and up there in the top, they're making the same lace that's on the side here. It's called Yantuti lace, and it came from the Tenerife Islands originally and then was changed. And it's where you stitch. You put one stitch on the fabric, and then you stitch from stitch to stitch to stitch, and you end up creating this beautiful lace pattern out of thread. And that's one of the things that they do, and then they cut it off the frame. The culture, Paraguayans, a lot of them still take siesta in the afternoon. And that's one reason I love the culture down there. We adopted our son from there in 1989, 23 years ago. And when he was a tiny baby. And then it was even more backwards. And yeah, everything shut down from 12 to 3. And in downtown, there's still, the banks close at 1. There's a lot of shops downtown that close during the siesta. And people actually eat a big lunch and take a siesta and come back to work. And then they go home about 7 or 8, and then they eat dinner. So it's a whole different lifestyle. And then, as in the other cultures, but more so here in Paraguay, when you have a meeting scheduled, you really need to follow up and make sure that the meeting's going to happen, because it's just notorious that if something else came up, the person's not going to be able to meet. So you really have to reconfirm and reconfirm. The same thing, the relationship is very, very important. So what do you think about the meaning of time in Paraguay? What do you think? How do they value time? What do you think? Do they use it differently?
There's plenty
There's plenty
of time.
of time. Right, we'll get to it. We'll get to it tomorrow. Or if I don't see you today, or if it rains today and the streets flood, then tomorrow it'll be sunny and we'll do it then. So everything's in. Time is not as like here, rushing. So now look at the average income in Paraguay, $4,400. Lot lower. Imagine living on that per year. Very different, very different. But the cost of living is very low. All right, so now what I want us to do is I'm going to go over some concepts that come from a book that's called The Culture Code, a book that I was showing you a few minutes earlier. And what it talks about is it's an ingenious way to understand why people around the world live and buy as they do. So we're going to, what role does culture play in opening the market for U.S. products in these countries? So we're going to turn that key that's up there and we're going to find out. All right, so in America, many people, we love to eat, or we did as kids, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, right? That was like the thing. No matter what else, cut the crust off. If you didn't like the crust, make peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and any kid is pretty happy. So if you ask, what is childhood? What's a memory or what's an image that childhood might connect for you? Somebody might say peanut butter and jelly. Well, in other cultures like Paraguay, you can't even really buy peanut butter, okay? You'll get different kind. It's got different oils in it, but it's not the kind that we would put on a sandwich. And they are never going to just put it on a piece of bread and eat it. That's just not, that's not something they would think of. So when a child there is thinking, what's my favorite food from childhood? What do I think about? It's something called sopa paraguaya, or Paraguayan cornbread. And it's got goat cheese in it, and it's got onions. It's really good. It's very moist and very nice. But that's their traditional thing. So I'm just trying to get you to see the difference. So when you think something's a symbol or a word is a symbol, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or what's some of the other stuff we'd always hear? Baseball, apple pie, Chevrolet, right? Yeah, macaroni and cheese, America. Those are the things that come. So when we think about other cultures, we're going to want to think, what word might they choose to affiliate with their culture? All right, so each product makes a unique impact on the members of a given culture. So they can be only a few words, and it's going to be kind of like, for example, in America, like I said just a few minutes ago, Chevrolet, like cars. So I just took our little guy from the movie, right, from Cars. Cars is like the American code for cars is identity. The kind of car you drive here is like, who am I, right? If I have a this or a that, or maybe not, we don't care, but a lot of people do. That's been something. But in Germany, the code for cars is engineering. What do you think about German cars? What do you think about when you hear Mercedes, Volvo, BMW? Yeah, they don't just throw it together. It takes a lot of work. Very safe. They're considered some of the safest cars in the world. Okay? So I just want you to see that the word for the code for cars, people think of the word engineering, whereas in the States, oh, my car is my identity. Maybe more so for men than women, but still. All right, so another one. The American code for a Jeep is horse. Okay, so why would we think that? Because it's a go-anywhere vehicle. So instead, they used to have square headlights. They made them round so they could look like a horse's eyes. Okay? But in France and Germany, Jeeps were seen very differently. They were seen at the end of World War II as a liberating factor. Okay? So the word in Europe for a Jeep, or for a Jeep, is liberator. Okay? Because it's something that freed them from the tyranny of Hitler and the Nazis. And this one's a really fun code. The code in France for cheese, it's alive. But the code here is dead. Why? Look at that picture and tell me. Why do you think that? What's the difference between these two? Processed. Yes, great word. This group, the way we buy cheese, it's cold, it's dead, it's in a bag, it's sealed, it's pasteurized, and it has to be refrigerated, and it's just, we buy it just because of what it says on it, because we can't sample it most places. But in France, the cheese is made. It's out there. It's under a screen on a table maybe, and you're invited to taste it. So it's alive. It breathes. Cheese breathes in other parts of the world. But here, no. It's in the deli counter. And it's dead. All right, so what we're going to do, I've done this when I've had a lot more people. So we're going to have 2 groups, not 5. And each group is going to take one of the topics that I'm going to put up here, and they're on your sheet as well. And you're going to try to figure out what its code is in the United States and in some Latin American countries. All right, so I only had 2, but since there's only 2 groups, I think we should go through, we've got enough time. What I'd like us to do is I'll read through the questions, and we're going to do each question. This team's going to do it, and you 2 are going to be a team, all right? And just, you can write on the back of the sheet you have, and you're going to come up with, I'm going to leave this up there, okay? And we're going to go through these, and then you're going to talk in your groups and try to come up with a word that identifies. What is the code? Okay, so what we want to know is, what do you think the code in the United States is for work? Your career, work. What's the code? And what might it be in Brazil or in Paraguay? Okay. Another one, what's the code in the US for dinner? Eating, dinner. And what do you think it might be in Argentina or in Brazil? Third one, what do you think the code is in the United States for love? L-U-V, no, L-O-V-E, right? Love. And what do you think it is in Argentina and, let's say, Paraguay? Okay. What is the dress code? What is the code in the US for health and wellness? Thinking of one word, 1 or 2 words, and then what do you think in Brazil or Paraguay? And lastly, what is the code in the United States for the concept of fat, being fat on your body? And how might that differ if we were looking at that from the point of view of an Eskimo? Or maybe someone in Brazil. So I'll walk between the groups and we'll talk, but let's start and try to see what you can think of for a code, a culture code, okay? Something that would stand out. And you can look back at the notes that I gave you on the code for cheese and why it's different in the 2 countries. All right, so think of one-word things. What comes to your mind? We start with work. So let's start with that one. So the word, what work is in the United States, what might be? Just a 1-word description. What does work mean in the United States? So just take some minutes here, start talking, sharing, come up with a couple of ideas. It can be like 3 or 4 words. It doesn't have to just be 1. And just as a hint on the first one, in the US, or the code for work, when you get in an elevator with people or you're in a group of people, what do they ask you?
How much money do you make?
Well, okay, that could be one. But think otherwise, how do we see work? What is the question that seems that what does it say about us? Okay? What does it say about us? And think about when you go somewhere, what they always ask you when you're little. What do you want to be? So yeah, you're working on it. I'm hearing some words over there. How about you guys? Have you started with any words?
Well, like work here is more like loyal and there is more determined, like harder.
Why don't you write it down? That's great, because we're going to talk about it. Okay? It's good. Having fun with it. And then you can look at the code. What might it be in Brazil? And you don't have to spend a lot of time on any one of these, because we've got a lot of them to go through. So once you think you've got something, and you can pick out other countries as well if you'd like. It doesn't have to just be Brazil. I've just used that because I talked a little bit about Brazilian business exchanges. And then you can move on to the next one, which is dinner.
Yeah, mostly like McDonald's, I don't think healthy. For some like American families, for sure, but like coming together as a community and staying around.
Yeah, move on to love when you finished with dinner.
Yeah.
Think about the fairy tales.
We all thinking like first sight and stuff like that.
And what is it really?
Well, that makes it.
So you can think about that. Think about some phrasing of how you think love might be perceived here. And then go back and see how you think it might be perceived in another country. And again, you can choose any country. If you've traveled somewhere, or you've got some connection somewhere, you know someone from another culture. And if you're healthy and well in the States, what does that allow you to do? Think about that. I'll give you a little hint about what we think about health and wellness. All right, how are we doing? Have you gone through all your words, all your 5 areas? Okay, how is this other team doing? Ready, or do you need more time?
We didn't get all of them, but
All right, all right. If you think you're ready to participate, what I like to do now is spend the rest of the time we have together going through these, tell you what the author said and why, get your ideas, and then we'll talk about some of these other cultures, okay? This is kind of fun. All right, so let's start with work. All right, what does this team have? What is work in the United States? What is the code for work?
We have a couple words.
Okay.
Just kind of popping them off for like money, status, the American dream, and identity.
Money, status.
You are what you do.
You are what you do, okay. How about our other group?
we put like loyal and like easy work or like determined,
Or what was the last one?
like determined work.
Determined work, okay. And who's put determined? Okay. All right, let me tell you what the code for the author tells us for work. Let me find that one. I thought I had it out here, but I guess I closed it. Okay, that's love. I marked them all off because he does just tons of them. Wellness. Dinner. Where did I put work? Oh, well, I know what it is. So what the author says, and the way he did this, just to give you a little background, is he brought together groups of people, and they did what's called focus group interviews, where they'd bring in a group of you together, and they'd ask you these questions, and people would just start talking about what these things meant to them. But he said that wasn't good enough. He needed to push people past, like after 3 hours or 5 hours. Then they'd really say what they thought, because in the beginning, he believes in a focus group, people will only say what they think you want to hear. Okay, so the code, let's put here for the book, we'll put the book's code over here, US. Okay, what they say is the code. The code for work is, it is who you are. And so this team over here came really close to that because they had a question in there, you are what you do. And that's it. What happens if you go to any kind of a networking event, career fair, or anything like that here? People, or in your age group, people say to you, you're considering coming to college here, they're going to say, what are you going to do with your life? What do you want to be? Well, is that really who you are? No, but that's what the American culture, the U.S. culture, that's our label. When someone comes up to you, well, what's your major? I don't know, I haven't decided yet, undecided. But a lot of people, they expect you. I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an accountant, I want to be whatever. And then once you are in college, and when you've gotten out and you have a job, the first thing people say to each other at an event, well, what do you do? So who you are is your work in the United States. What do you think it is in Brazil, any of these other countries? Do you guys have any ideas? What would be different?
It's more like natural work. You're doing it. I don't know what the word is.
So work is natural. It's part of your life.
Yeah, cultural.
All right. And what did you guys come up with?
Social, like a social group kind of thing. And
More
traditional.
social? Yeah. Right, because what did we learn about these three countries, which are in one of the trade groups of Latin America called the Mercosur, which is the Mercado Común del Sur, the common market of the South. It's made up of Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, and then Bolivia and Chile are also members now. What did we learn about those countries when we're doing business? It's relationships. So it's more about family too, all right? So they're going to be, their code for who they are might be, oh, well, I'm a father of 5 boys, or I'm the mother of 6 girls, or I'm something like that. And then they're going to really more relate to their family, to their social circles. It is more natural. It's just a part of their life. It's not who they are. Yeah, so you guys you're on track. Yeah, you're getting it. All right, dinner. What do you think the word for, what is dinner in the United States? Did you come up with a word?
We thought fast food immediately, like on your own, like
On your own.
do it on your own time.
On your own. That's in my house, that's for sure. Fast food. Okay, what did this team have?
But like cultural, like it's like you're determined to eat every day, like with your family.
Okay, so it's cultural, eat with the family, right? With family. All right. And the book in the United States is surprisingly more like what you said than what you guys said. And it's interesting because I know my son, when he comes home from work or school, he's graduating this year from University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. He's going to be a finance guy. He's got his job all lined up to start. And he gets whatever to eat, he fixes it out of the refrigerator or brings something home, goes up to his man cave, and he sits there. And he eats and watches TV. The only time, though, it was like on Easter Sunday. It's expected that we'll put out the good china, that was my great-grandmother's, the Paraguayan Yanduti lace tablecloth, and we sit down together and we have a formal dinner. And that isn't, well, no questions asked. That was what we did, even just a couple weeks ago. So let me find dinner in here again. I think I put it on a different one because it's, right. Let's find dinner again. I marked it. Dinner, where are we? Dinner. All right, here we go. All right, the American, according to him, after listening to people talk over and over again, and they talked a lot about holidays, which is Thanksgiving and Christmas and all those Easter, and he came up with the code in the United States being that dinner is the essential circle. What does that mean? Any ideas? What's an essential circle? What, all the TV commercials, what do they show? They show the families eating at the table, that everybody comes to the table to eat, but doesn't necessarily mean it's the way it is. Now, what did you think when you thought about the other cultures?
I meant to say culture with family for Brazil, and for US we have like independent. I mixed it up.
Oh,
So, yeah.
we were fast food on our own, or no, you said culture, is that US or more Brazilian?
More Brazil. And
Okay,
for
so the culture and with family you associated with these countries over
and
here.
then for US you put like independent.
Okay, so you both had the same thing, which is independent. All right, so that's interesting that it came back essential circle. I don't know. I mean, yes, everybody would really like that. That's the ideal for the family to have dinner together. But in reality, I don't know that that's such the way it is. So you meant more culture and family. And what did you think about Latin American dinners?
We just have family.
Family. Okay, and that's probably very correct. So family is a huge part in the culture, and you are together, the whole family. Okay, let's move on to love. Okay, what do you think is a code for love in the United States?
Like we have a false image kind of thing of what love is.
Okay.
And that it's like here we try to put on like the pretty face of it, but it's actually just more physical and what you can do for me.
False image is really more physical. And what do I get? Interesting. Okay, and what do you have?
Go for like a deep love because like or like when you love someone you like care for them a lot and you more.
So deep feelings. Okay, did you have anything else? Think about, okay, so now I'm going to tell you what he says. Okay? He has two words, and the two words that he got out of all the people he talked to, or the code in the United States, false expectations. Why would that be? Where does that come from? Yeah.
The portrayal in like movies and books.
Portrayal in movies and books, okay.
TV shows.
TV shows, and remember I talked earlier about the fairy tales? They're not real. We have these expectations that we're going to meet someone and fall madly in love, and then we get married, and it's supposed to be perfect, but it's life. So there's ups and downs, and in the United States, we're so quick to end it with a divorce. And so that's where false expectations. What do you think that love would be like in these other countries? And you can even talk about East Asia if you want, any place else. Arranged. Interesting. Yes, and I would say that's more of an other countries thing. Arranged. Right, and in Japan and China and some of those places, they are arranged marriages, and people think, they scoff at the United States for us thinking of, oh, this wonderful love, this attraction, we have to pick our own mates. They're like, no, you'll fall in love with the person your parents pick out for you. It's just part of life. You need a partner is what you need more than someone you fall in love with. What about Latin America? What do you think there?
Bringing families together, like.
Okay, so maybe more of family connections and
Like
family.
based on like family values. Like,
Yeah. Connections, family values. Good, I think that's on target. All right, let's move on. Health and wellness. What did you guys have for health and wellness for the U.S.?
You're always going to better yourself. Like all about being skinny or fit, and everybody's in your health business, like,
Everyone's in your health business. Yeah.
You're looking at it.
Meaning everybody's in your face about your health.
yeah.
Okay, what did we have? The other team.
We couldn't really think of a word for that.
Okay.
We're in trouble with thinking of a word.
That's okay. The code in the United States that our author gives for health and wellness, movement. Why do you think he would say movement?
Always doing something.
Because we want to affiliate with getting up, dancing, going to the gym, being able to do all these exercises. Yeah, and it's like, well, what about people that can't move? Where do they fit into this? We never hear about them, like the Americans with Disabilities Act. Well, we do hear about the Special Olympics and some of those things, but it's all about movement, right? Get your body moving, get your body working. All right, what do you think it is in Latin American countries? What ideas?
Religious, like it's spiritual, it's very.
Okay, so more spiritual maybe. What else? What do you think they eat there? I mean, now, yes, we have all the fast food chains that you could possibly want, including TGI Fridays in Asunción, Paraguay, Burger King, whatever. But
Vegetables, it's everything on the earth is natural.
yeah, the food is much more natural. There's, in the beef and stuff, there's no hormones. The slaughter isn't the same. It isn't done the same way. And the same thing with the fruits and vegetables. They're fresh. They're like organic. So the food is better for you. All right, and our last word before we end for today is the word fat. What do we think? It's just, I mean, it's, I'm putting this out there, and I know it's like not politically correct to be like having a big discussion about fat because it's part of life, okay? But what do you think that the code for fat might be in the United States? Unhealthy, okay.
Gross.
Gross, okay. Anything else?
We had unhealthy too.
All right, so unhealthy takes the cake. All right, the author said that in the U.S., the code for fat, checking out. What would that mean?
No,
Yeah, you want to die, or you don't care if you're gonna, you want to hide from being in a relationship, so you put on weight, or it's like incredible. But I don't know where he gets some of this stuff, but checking out. So how do you think that is looked at in other parts of the world? And we said Eskimos was one of them.
Well, if you can provide for your family, it's beautiful.
Sure, so for the Eskimos, and we'll put that over here, fat is beautiful, right? And it's healthy. Healthy. Beautiful. What do you think in Latin America? What do you think the code might be for fat? More of a new thing down there because of the fast food restaurants coming, and now people are riding motorcycles more than walking, and so people are starting to show signs that they can be obese.
It's like culture. It's like,
So it's maybe more accepted? Accepted more by the culture, maybe?
they're like assimilating themselves like the Americans, right?
And they do like to work out. I mean, that is a big thing there now. And they don't like fat either. So I think they're moving towards this thing that if I'm fat, I'm checking out, because they have a whole park that's dedicated to nothing but miles and miles of running trails, walking trails. They hold runs all the time down there. So they're always doing things now. And beaches, like in Rio, people put on their bikinis, if they're big or small, whatever, and they walk on the beach. And they're just active. So great. All right. So as we wrap up here, before she comes back to get you, do you have any questions or other comments? I have this saying that I like to use. I'm not the same having seen the moon shine on the other side of the world. And it's true, because when I travel, I've traveled to China, Japan, I've been to Europe, most of Western Europe, almost all the countries in Western Europe, Caribbean, and Latin America. I've been to most of the countries in Latin America. And so it is, you take a different perspective. So that's one of the things that in Alverno, we try to have you develop a global perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in another country, but what it means is that you can take on another perspective and look at it and see, okay, I understand now why the French called cheese alive and we called it dead. So it's being able to take some of this information and then recognize the development, where you are, developing that perspective. So that was kind of the topic I wanted to talk to you today about. So do you have any questions about Alverno or what it's like, or do you have ideas what you major? Do you have a major that you're thinking of? Chemistry, awesome. Woman chemist, I love it. All right. Anything? Ideas? English, good. Nursing, good, great.
Early childhood education.
Early childhood education, that's great.
Psychology.
So really a diverse group here. That's great. That is great. Yeah, that's wonderful. So we would have we have nurses in our classes, so these classes are open for other people to take, and psychology majors, I think, can take some of the marketing classes, and I've had people from all different areas, so that's great.
Were you the broad spokesperson at the one at open houses?
No, I haven't done an open house in a while, but there's other people that have the same kind of energy and
Probably.
enthusiasm for learning and trying to show you what it's like and get you involved, bring you in. So that's the key to our analysis. You're going to have a class where you're going to be able to talk about stuff, have a discussion, share your own ideas, and nothing's long. It's not stupid. It's how are you thinking? How are you be looking at the 8 abilities: communication, problem solving, analysis, valuing and decision making, social interaction, teams, developing a global perspective, effective citizenship, and aesthetic responsiveness, which is how something looks to you and how does that affect what you're doing. So you'll get into these, and you'll take classes that will delve into each one of these areas, different levels, and you'll have a chance to really apply your learning, not just a bunch of tests. We'd like to do assessments that are more real and hands-on and things instead of multiple choice questions, that kind of thing. So hopefully that'll give you a feel for Alverno and how we do things. So we're very outcome-based, and each major has their own set of outcomes that students will be meeting. And then, of course, the abilities are woven into that. So, great. Well, I think we've hit our time. She probably was giving us a few more minutes because we were a few more minutes late getting started, but whatever. I'm happy to answer